down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
So my name is VanCauwenbergh. You came to the Landlord Lunch. If this is your first time, just want to introduce myself. I am just the mediator. So this event is for you to learn as much as possible. Okay? Now, some people get long-winded for some weird reason. I don't understand why. They got to tell me about their social security number. I really don't give a rip about your social security number, but I do care about your bank account. But if you do talk too long, I'm going to cut you off, okay? The goal is to give as much information as possible. This thing, if you turn your little sheet of paper over, right here, turn that over, that is our guide. So, and this is your event. So if there's a subject that you want covered, let me know. I am just the mediator, all right? So I'm not here to tell you about me or what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to give back to the community, to the people that have helped me to get where I'm at. If you don't know about me, that's cool. I can tell you more about me later, but it's whatever. Now, I came up with this title. Next month, if you guys, I need some more subjects. But I've been testing Facebook a lot lately, and I think next month we're going to talk about Facebook. Anybody interested in that? Mm-hmm. Are we cool with that as a subject? I mean, I'm talking about grinding it out, getting in there, and I've been selling houses within 2 or 3 days on Facebook. Now I've only been using Facebook to sell houses. I have not bought any ads. I'm gonna be working with somebody here pretty soon, hopefully, to help me with that. But I have not dived into Facebook for leasing properties. Does anybody have any luck with that? You look okay, cool. All right, so that's next month. All right, all things money. Who likes money? Man, nobody likes money? Give me your money then, because I like it. You can do a lot with money, right? You can change the world. You can feed the poor. You can help people. Now, today's subject is based on money. All things money. Acquiring it. This is a great opportunity if you want to know how I buy houses and how I acquire them. And I have a whole system in plan. It takes me about 5 minutes to borrow up to $1 million of money. How do I do that? I'm welcome to help you with that. Where do I borrow money? How do I get money? All things money. Now, the other question is on here, how do you refi? When should you refi? Okay? That's another question that we're going to devolve in this thing called equity. Cool? And another thing I put on there, I threw that down at the end, is taxes. And we're going to define today, Matt Vile, I just voted you in. We're gonna have you define depreciation. So get your phone out, start Googling it up, and you're going to tell us about depreciation. Okay?
I don't depreciate that.
Well, you won't depreciate. You got to get here early. All right. Cool. Does that excite you yet? Yeah. Oh, man. Come on, guys. Yeah. It's hard being up here. This is not what I want to be doing on a Wednesday. Am I getting paid? We're talking about money. Yeah, but all right. Well, then you need to give me something then. All right. You put a bite in your mouth. I'll give you 2 seconds to think about it. You start us off, Big Daddy.
With what?
We got. I gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things, just in case you were scared. Let's talk about one of those things. You work for a company that does wholesaling.
I don't work for them anymore.
Okay, you used to work for a company that used to do wholesaling. Welcome to the club.
Yes.
So, how did you guys get funding for your acquisitions? Now, I know you guys did sleight of hand with contracts. I just saw a few of those deals.
It's the funding?
Funding.
Private investors, I'm pretty sure.
Private? You don't know? You work there and you don't know?
I didn't handle the funding.
Well, that's your first problem.
Yeah.
You need to know where the money's at, right? Can I say yes?
Yes.
Okay, you got to know. Listen, you got to know where the money's coming from. Why does the bank, what's the first thing the bank asks you for? Financial statement, which is also known as what's a P&L?
Profit and loss statement.
Profit and loss statement, okay? So you got to know where the money's at. You'll never be successful in this business, in any business, if you don't know where your money's coming in or where your money's going out. I was helping a guy today, and he wants to quit his job, and I was like, what's the number? He couldn't even tell me what the number is. Here's a rule of thumb that you should look at for your real estate. Does anybody know this answer? How much money, cash reserves, should you keep for your properties, for your real estate? What would you say?
6 months.
6 months of what? Is it the gross? Is it the net? What amount? So he's saying, has everybody ever heard that term, 6 months? Okay, I do 3 months. Some people do 6 months of what's the number? Is it the total gross amount?
6 months of your expenses.
6 months of your expenses. And what's your expenses?
Mortgages, taxes, insurance.
PITI. So for example, it's a $500 rent house and your mortgage payment, taxes, insurance. And I would also juice it up a little bit. So let's just say that payment's $300. I would reserve $350 because of just the idiot factor. Things could go wrong. Okay? So $350 times what? 6? What's that? 1,800 times 100 units. How much is that? 180,000. Right? Roughly. Am my numbers correct? I'm just making this up. So if you're at this certain level, you're going to need this kind of money to sustain your business. Okay, so we got to know where the funding. I'm just teasing because I like it. All right. So where are the other ways? So let's just go over where to get funding from. Where do you get funding? In this room, you can get funding.
Home equity line.
Home equity line, HELOC. Okay. The problem with people that don't do well in real estate, they get nervous, they get scared, they don't know where to get funding from, right? Well, there's people in this room that I know personally that loan people money. Now, it may be expensive or it may be cheap. It could be a timing issue. But you've got to be thinking, this is the first thing you should do, write this down, make a spreadsheet, go in Google Drive, make it sheets, and put up there, cash, people to loan money, and write in there, Steve VanCauwenbergh. That's me. Hey, what up? I loan money. I do. I loan money to people. Not all the time, but I do. If I have some equity on a property and I sell a property and someone calls me and says, hey, I need X amount of money, we have a system in place to loan money. There's people, and I'm not ashamed about that. I'm not ashamed that we charge a certain amount of money for that. That doesn't make me I'm some kind of baller. But what I realize in my mind, that there's so much money to be lent that we're not asking for it. Okay? So, money, right? Where's our money? In this room. Everybody, in this room. Okay, where else is there places to find money?
Banks.
Who?
Banks.
Banks, my favorite word. Banks, family, where else? RIAs, okay, groups. What else? We're still missing one.
Hard money.
Hard money, that's a good one. Keep going. Come on.
My house on a credit card.
Your house on a credit card? A credit card, there's money on credit cards? Well, she said something that's almost right. There's another place. It's called Equity.
Equity.
Okay. You got to write that down. Equity. The biggest thing that I see when I look at someone's portfolio and I'm trying to help them grow their business is that they have a lot of thing called dead equity. Write that down. Dead equity. Google that up. How does that work? You could have a bunch of millions of dollars. I don't know where your portfolio is, but you have money that is in equity that you could be using to leverage and buy more property. Okay? A sophisticated real estate investor is constantly analyzing what their equity is and are they utilizing it to its magnitude. So let's just say is it good to have a $100,000 house debt free or to have a $100,000 house with an $80,000 loan on it? Which is better?
Debt free.
Debt free.
Debt free? Dave Ramsey.
Because you can use that money.
Well,
Well,
first of all, let's just real quick. This is all into your own interpretation, okay? Because this is what your risk level is. So don't take my philosophy. But it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're 80 years old and you want $1,000 a month, and you're not really making $1,000 a month, why?
Expenses.
Because what's the one thing that when you leverage a house that you can do?
Refi.
You can write off your interest.
That's right. Oh, right on.
Okay?
Right on.
Right?
Okay.
Now, if I had a $100,000 house and I was making $1,000 a month, guess what I'm paying tax on?
$1,000.
Well, not 1,000, but I mean,
800.
minus your expenses, right? But in reality, just to be quick, you're paying taxes on $1,000. But if I had a leveraged, am I paying taxes on that money?
No.
I'm paying, writing it off on interest. I'm getting that money back. So just that right there should put your hands together. Come on. Now listen, I'm not some guru. I just figured that out just 20 years later in my little real estate career, okay? But I never thought of depreciation. When I just wanted to buy real estate, I just wanted to get in. I wanted to be free. I wanted 10 houses that brought me $200 a month. That's all I needed. My life's going to change. Everything's going to be great. I never knew that I'd be here today. Okay? But that, you got to understand, you got to think about how does it work. The thing about the government, someone slapped me yesterday that just drove me crazy. You have an IRA, a self-directed IRA, Roth IRA. How much can you contribute into that IRA? Does anybody know? 65? Wow. I love this. This person is amazing. This person doesn't think he's amazing, but this person's amazing. Because it changed my whole life when he said this. I go, it's very interesting. He goes, it's very interesting that the government created the IRA, right? That was why. Anybody know why the IRA was even created? Because, well, well, yeah, that's the real point. That's a good answer. We'll talk about that later. But that whole goal was to help you Americans, right? Because the institutional providers weren't doing retirement anymore, right? Everybody follow me? The IRA was the great thing, changed the world, 70s, 80s, right? And you should be smart, and you should put money in this 401, right? And then someone's gonna manage this money for it because we're uneducated, we're dumb,
Right.
so we got to try someone else to manage this money for us, right? We will all follow this little plan, but this is what you're gonna do because we can't rely on the government, right? So this guy said this, this very smart man said this to me. Don't you think it's very bizarre that you're limited in what you can contribute to that account? Think about that logically. My goal, government, is for me to retire without being reliant on you, right? Because we're failing, and I'm trying to be self-sufficient. But you're enabling me to be self-sufficient because I'm unlimited. I can put in $6,500 a year. So what should you do in a situation like that? Get a self-directed IRA and come to the investor weekend because my homie knows how to take that. You can turn your $1,000 investment inside an IRA and turn it into $1 million. Well, here's a quick and fast way you can do it. Now, this sounds all sexy and glamorous and it sounds all easy, but we're talking about money, so I'm gonna make it a little exciting but you can be a great wholesaler. I know a lot of them. They're amazing. And they roll around, and what is a wholesaler good at? Negotiating and finding the deal. They're very successful at that event.
Marketing.
In marketing. So they go in, they get a house, they get a $100,000 house, and they get that house under contract for $50,000. Everybody follow me? Pretty simple. $50,000 worth of equity. This is a smart wholesaler. He puts this contract that he negotiated into his IRA, self-directed IRA account. So he writes the contract, IRA number, equity trust number, don't use equity trust, use flunky somebody else, ID. He gets it under contract, he assigns it, he sells that contract for a modest fee of $10,000. $10,000. So as a real estate investor, thank you, Mr. Wholesaler, for selling me a $100,000 asset for $60,000. Now we're smart because now I have cost to fix it up. Now that guy wrote that contract for how much? What's his profit? $10,000. That goes 100% tax-free into his IRA. Pretty remarkable. Okay, that's what you can do with money when you understand money. So what you need to do now, okay, we got 40 minutes exactly. You need to be writing down what's your questions about money, because there's some very smart people in the room, way more smarter than me in this room, and they can answer that question. If I just explained to you how to make $1 million in IRA, blew your mind, then we're just touching the iceberg of what you can do with money. And I just showed you there's money in this room, and you can do this relatively simply. Now, the only weakness that you have is what? Not asking the questions and a little fear of not doing it. Okay, you have a question?
What IRA company do you use?
I use Southwest Trust out of New Mexico. I like them because I don't believe in management fees. They charge me a flat fee. It's like $200 to $400 a year. Doesn't matter what transactions I have in there.
How much money you have?
I have in there $50,000 right now.
But does it matter how much you have in
No.
There's a set fee. That's it.
That's it. One time. Now, if you want to know the company's, Quest is the leader in self-directed IRAs. Okay, they're the ones that put it through the masses and put it through. They charge a percentage of your overall portfolio. A lot of my friends that do a lot of transactions like them and use them, but they do charge a fee, a percentage of what you have in there. I guess when you're at $10 million in your IRA, it's no big deal for them. But for me, I'm like a dollar is a dollar. Now,
Quest will do like networking events in some places where they allow essentially the person who has the money in their IRA to invest it with somebody else.
like connect them together.
Yep. The
Yeah.
networking events and
You should put something on like that, like a
That's what this event is.
trade out your retirement. Just
Yeah.
especially the
Well, Investor Weekend, the guy that's coming for Investor Weekend, the dude is like my idol. Like I'm telling you, when that guy says, "Hey, let's go to lunch," I'm like, I drive there. The guy is just a master. Took $1,000 and I vetted him out. So this is not some fluffy dude, and he's not selling some course. He will sell some kind of coaching thing because I don't know what to do. Like I got to pay for my plane ticket, and my hotel. I say, hey, we'll do this. We're going to do something on Sunday, an 8-hour thing, but it's going to be cheap and it's just going to be like, it's intense. But yeah, you should. That's why you should be here. You should be passing out name tags. You should. There's some people in this room that are blue collar, that can manage property, that can rehab property, and there's some white collar in this room that have 80-hour job and can't do it, but understands the power of leverage and understands that they can have their money work for them. Okay. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. That's why we even do this networking event, because I need one thing today that you need to help me with. I need a heat and air guy. I need a heat and air guy. Okay. So if someone at the end texts me. Heat and air guy, that would help my world out. Okay, it's not a massive repair, but I'm getting these bids on changing out some ductwork. I'm like, no, dude, I used to pay X amount for that, and that guy's disappeared. I need someone to help me. That's what this is for. This is why we get together as a team. All right, so blow your mind on that. First question. So he asked me about where I host my IRA. First of all, you got to convert your IRA into a self-directed IRA, but this is not the IRA class. Unless you guys want to do one of those. You guys want to do those on a Wednesday? I mean, a month?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, we'll do. So after my Facebook, because I'm gonna lock out Facebook next month. I mean, I'm working on Facebook right now. By the time Wednesday comes around next month, I'm gonna be on fire. Like I'm juiced up on Facebook. Like I'm learning algorithms, learning how to buy ads. You name it, I'm gonna know Facebook. I mean, it's so powerful, it blows my mind. I mean, yesterday I was at my son's thing. I hit the button. Within an hour later, someone was already jamming me up on a property. Within an hour. I mean, that's it. I sold the house in, I don't know exactly how long. I know we're back on Facebook, sorry. But I just put the line on Facebook on my own page. Not even on a mark. I said, I'm selling this house for X amount of money. Anybody see that? I sold it that day. It was like paramount. Now, of course, I dumped it, right? It's probably it was a deal. And if you want to be good at what you do, you got to sell it as a deal. Now, there's profit in there, but I just needed to dump that property. All right. So IRA, you need to research it out. Now, don't be overwhelmed with this stuff, okay? Now, I honestly, I've done a few transactions in my IRA. I borrowed some money out of someone's IRA. I am not the guy to be leading the IRA class, okay? But what I've learned as a real estate investor since 1999 and hundreds and hundreds of transactions, if you start a little bit right now, it will help you later. So if you've never done this before or on IRA, just Google it up. Ask people, who does IRA money, loaning it, or she's an expert. Crystal, Keith does some stuff. You borrow and loan out of it. Anybody else? And me. Okay, so this is a subject that we need to learn. Okay, you need to Google this up. There's a bunch of good books that I read on it. There's a free book. I don't know if they do it anymore, but I have to find it. Okay. But there's not a free book. But the reason why I went to SunWest Trust, because two of my friends go there, but it used to go on their website. If you fill out a form, they mail you a book, and I just for fun, and I read it, and it's a really good book. Is that anybody gone there? It's a really simple book. It tells you exactly what an IRA is.
So you're going to have a rep come to your event in April?
IRA? That's a good idea. I haven't. No, that's a good idea. And back to equity trust. Okay, I don't want to dog equity trust, but a lot of my friends don't use equity trust anymore. They're extremely bloated and they're slow, but they might be good for you to use them in the beginning. Anybody use equity trust?
I did once.
Okay.
I did once.
Yeah. So the consistency, there you go. All right. Done with the IRA deal. What's the next one? Funding. Okay. Now let's just be real quick on the funding. Bank funding is important. Okay. I know a guy that's incredible that never uses a bank, and I believe that it's slowing him down. You can be creative, and that's the next one. But there's two types of banks that you need to be aware of. One is like the general public bank, and I call that the Class A bank. That's MidFirst, Bank First. Those are the banks you don't want to talk to. You want to talk to community banks that do this word, and you need to memorize this. It's called portfolio lending. Okay? And you got to learn, and I've tried to write a book on this, and I have not finished it. It's 70% done, but there is a whole language into borrowing money as a real estate investor. There's specific banks, and here you go. First Security Bank on Northeast 23rd is a real estate friendly bank. What's another one? Sooner State Bank on May. Quail Creek Bank is a real estate bank. Now, they may do, the best real estate banks don't have mortgage organizations in them. First Security Bank doesn't. McLean Bank.
REFI.
All American Bank. First Liberty Bank. Who else? Will Rogers Bank. Anybody else? Frontier Bank. Bank 7. Good call, Jinx.
First Bethany.
First Bethany. I didn't have Yukon Bank. Yukon National Bank.
Yes.
Stillwater Bank. Okay? You get it? Now you notice I didn't. Now you want to find a bank that's has an asset class of $250 million and below. How do you find that out? Go to their effing webpage and read about the bank. They're happy to tell you that they're only worth X amount of money. Okay? So if you're dealing with anybody above $250 million or more, they have a lot more rigmarole. You want to talk to the person. It's usually a vice president. They understand real estate. You talk to them, and you go through the process with them. Okay? Everybody cool on that? Any questions on that?
Yeah. Do they have seasoning? All these banks you mentioned.
All right, well, let me just answer that question as a whole. Every bank is totally different. Some banks do 30-day seasoning. Some banks don't do any. Well, I can't say that, but John, I'm going to phrase that. They're all different. But when you hear the word seasoning, it's usually a type A bank, mid-first,
But allow you to borrow the 8% of what it's worth now after it's fixed up.
Well, there's like First Liberty Bank does 2 loans at one time. They do a construction loan and they do an acquisition loan at the same time. Some banks do an acquisition loan and then put it on for 12 months or 6 months and put it on perm. That's what this building is on. So there's all scenarios. The word seasoning is kind of an older term, or that's not a bank that you really want to deal with because they're just following a procedure and a policy. The best banks that you want to go to, the hardest banks are acquisition. That's why I put that on there. And we can spend a lot of time on acquisition money here in a minute if you want to talk about that, because we only got 30 minutes. But the thing, you got to understand where the bank is coming from. So let's understand, they have to loan money or they're not successful. Okay? You're insecure because you can't believe that they're going to give you $100,000. Stop being insecure. Okay? They have an effing job. We have an effing job. We got to do my job. I got to buy real estate. I got to rent that deal out. They don't want to rent it out. They want to wear a suit all day. I don't want to wear a suit all day. Okay? They got to rent it out. I need money. Now, you got to understand where they're coming from. It's a slam dunk for a bank if you're refinancing. Okay? Write that down. Slam dunk for a bank to refinance. So, that's your hardest thing. It's easy to refinance. It's difficult to acquisition. Okay? Because the bank's philosophy, I could dig deep into this. The bank's philosophy is someone already loaned them the money, they must be vetted out. No, I didn't say that on tape, but you heard me. Okay? Think about it. Okay? Now, where it becomes hard is that they got to vet you out. And how do they vet you out? Anybody want to throw those out there? Who's been denied? Who's been denied? I've been denied.
Credit score, debt to income.
Credit score, debt to income ratio, 2 years taxes. Okay. Now you can do a portfolio loan, which you're loaning on your assets versus what they just said, loaning on character loan, the 5 C's or whatever. Okay. Now, so how can you make this work? You can use private money to what?
To acquire.
To acquire. Okay? You could do an owner finance to acquire. You could do a subject to acquire a property. Okay? And then you could refinance it, which makes it a little bit easier for the bank to do it. Okay?
Especially if it's already leased.
Especially if it's already leased. Remember, if you make a fake lease, that's illegal. That's fraud. Okay? So if it's really leased, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. You know, because one day they're going to ask you for the lease. If they don't know you, they're going to ask you for the lease. Okay, they usually don't ask you for that lease, but I think, you know, the economy and people might ask you for the lease. Yes?
It reminds me of something I should kind of warn some folks about. Some of these lenders you see on Facebook that say they can lend money all the time. Do your homework. I went through one and it was a nightmare. Ended up not being able to close because they had their appraisal company, which was Appraisal Nation, and they have admin fees on top of that. They're already expensive. They came out, lowballed the appraisals, and basically I couldn't refinance any money out, and I was out of money for the appraisals, and then it was just a big old mess, and I think they're just doing it to get fees. I don't know, maybe not.
Well, so what he's saying is like, not everything is what you fit in their matrix. You should always ask them for what a term sheet is. If you want to learn to be a real estate investor, ask them what their terms are, what their term sheets. Or when the number one thing, ask them, what are you offering? Don't come up, what you can do for me, what can you do for me? Okay?
It was supposed to be a low doc loan, and then they're asking me how I screen my
Okay, the next thing that I would recommend, on top of that guy, I would ask someone else, have you used them? Don't be the Indian that's going to get stabbed on the back. You know, don't be the trailblazer, whatever that's called. The person that runs out first.
Guinea pig.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't be the guy.
Edge.
You know, I mean, and well, we could spend a lot on secondary market. That's a different type of funding, but find someone that has used that bank before. We've named off 10 banks.
Right.
At least someone has used that bank. I can give you the name of that banker. Okay, but do your research on the bank before you even fill out an application. The next thing that I would do, I would never give out my social security number. Okay, if it asks for it on the form, I wouldn't write it on the form. Okay, I ask them to call me, and I'll give them my social security number, and I would say, hey, listen, I'm very protective of my social security and my credit score because I massage that deal like a masseuse, and I would, hey, if we're going to do a loan, then I have no problem. Did you look through my portfolio? Am I hedged to get the loan? Right? Am I going into underwriting? Am I in underwriting?
So are you saying before you give them your social security?
I mean, I give them my whole portfolio. I give them everything except for my social.
You're going to make sure you're pretty much getting a loan before you get.
Pretty much, because I don't want them to ding my thing. We had the credit class. If you guys came in here like before, you have about 30 days that they can ding it a lot. But it just looks bad if and in real estate, right? Things don't move that fast. Sometimes you're closing, and he just said he got burned because he waited, and it didn't, and then you try to reopen it. You hit that 30-day time frame, and then you're calling another bank and you're pulling it up again. Guess what? They just dinged your credit again twice. So just this is little tricks. Please pull my social. Here's my social number. I'm not trying to deny the bank what I'm trying to do, but I'm also having a conversation with this guy. And let me tell you, credit unions are instantaneously pulling their credit all the time. So I would just be wary of credit unions in general. And credit unions are notorious for changing terms real quickly. All banks are. So that's another thing. You want to get, it depends on where you're at in the chain of borrowing money, $1 million or $10, okay? You want to have something in writing that shows what your terms are. Okay? May it be an email. Even if the guy says it over the phone, hey man, can I get that in terms so I can, okay? Because the market is so volatile right now, it's changing really fast. And, that could hurt you. Like, for example, a typical loan could be locked for how long? What's a typical loan?
19 years.
No. We're talking about a portfolio money,
5
commercial
years.
money. It's 3 years.
3-year
AM. No, 15-year AM, but it's locked for 3 years. Wow. Unless you pay a little bit extra, half a point, in what? It's 5 years. Now, commercial money, like a building like this, is on a 20-year AM or a 30-year AM, usually locked for 5, okay? But there are some lenders out there that are changing it from 5 to 3. Because they're predicting that it's going to go up, and if it goes up, what happens to the bank? They lose money. Do banks tend to lose money?
No.
We don't. That's why. So that's why you kind of. And I've actually had this happen to me, and I actually had to punk the bank, and I got them to honor what they said that they were going to do. But because the loan was such a big loan and it took so long, it took like 6 weeks to close this deal. And there's some banks that are at that level that are just dragged their feet, even on a $100,000 loan. Okay, and they tried to change the terms the week of the closing, and I just was like, it was a big loan, and I mean, I just went ballistic in a nice way. But I just okay. So
Have you ever had anyone use like a private or a lending club or Prosper or things like that?
no, but people talk about it personally.
Yeah.
To get a quick loan. Has anybody used Lending Tree, Prosper?
Yes. Yeah. It's like crowdfunding. So.
Yeah. There's some of them out there right now that are just real estate dedicated.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. Maybe we should do the one for fun.
Yeah, they're short. They're like 40,000 max, but it's like private money, but I guess shorter term. Typically.
Good job. Just another way to get money. We need to get money. To this business revolves around money. If money makes you feel bad, like the word sex, probably shouldn't be in real estate. Just real quick, just cut it out. You can't. You feel me? Is that uncomfortable? The word sex? Is that uncomfortable for you? You ain't coming back? Okay. All right. Funding. The next one. Creative. Right? Any more questions on funding? Okay.
Dude, I just wanted to piggyback.
Well, you better be ready, man. You got 24 minutes.
You know what I did? I went around and interviewed banks. What are you looking for? What are your terms? Because I knew I was going to get a few no's, and I saved the bank I wanted to use until I learned about what they're looking for and stuff. So just go around and interview.
Yeah, you can. That's a great question.
If they handed me a credit app, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't need to fill that out.
Yeah, just sit down and talk to them. Find out who the banker is and go meet with them. Because, bankers have quotas, they have timetables, they have audits, they have compliance, BS stuff. So they may be busy this month and they may be available this month. You got to keep turning the money, and you got to keep turning the relationships and building them and talking to them.
And I built a package, so when I was ready...
Yeah, duplicate everything.
Then I went to the bank I wanted to use, man, and I was golden.
Like I said earlier, I opened up the conversation. I said, how long does it take me to borrow money? 5 minutes.
Call.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Email.
I just had my whole portfolio, bang, bang. It's like they usually call me right back. Whoa. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to create, a whoa factor. Okay.
I will say, I talked to a vice president. When I talked again, he wasn't there, or tried to talk to him. So I got the senior vice president. I saved a point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good question, or a good point. You can negotiate points. Okay, you can negotiate fees. I remember one time I was been doing business with this bank for so long, and they didn't. I didn't know this. I literally did not know this. This is how uneducated I was at this time. And my loan would be due, or it would be renewal, and the banker would call me. He's like, "Hey, Mr. VanCauwenbergh, what do you want to do on this? Do you want to renew it? Do you want to change the term?" He didn't say change terms. You can. So that's another subject. And I was like, "Oh, I just want to renew it. No big deal. I got the documents. Can you come in and sign?" I've been doing that for 10 years. Man, on this other bank, who I'm talking about, they charge you a fee for that.
What?
Yep, charge you a renewal fee. And another bank may not renew your loan. Now, don't be all scared, but
just have your
just be prepared. Okay, so creative. Let's talk about creative money. Is there creative money out there? Does anybody know what a subject to is?
Yes.
Okay, anybody want to explain it? Help somebody else out? Why is it got to be me?
Don't do it.
Start making the payments. Take over the loan.
Taking over a loan. It's like basically assuming the loan. So what happens is this individual usually does not have equity in the property. Something happens. They own this house. It's $100,000. It's worth $100,000, and they may owe $90,000 on it. Okay, is there room for a realtor to sell it? No. And it probably needs paint and it needs some minor stuff, but it's a solid house. And they have to move to Hawaii because that's where their sweetheart is, right? So they're trapped with this house. They call the realtor. Realtor's like, we take 6% and blah, blah, blah. So they're trapped, right? They can't afford 2 payments. So what you can do is that you can offer, let me don't say the word assume, let me take over the payments. And that's called subject to existing mortgage. You should Google this up. Subject to exist. There's pros and cons, okay? There's negatives on everything. But in a nutshell, you take the property, you deed the property into a trust, and you become the minister of the trust. The seller gives you the beneficiary rights to that trust. Their name's on the trust, but you have 100% rights of that trust, and that trust now governs that property, and now the trust can do whatever they want to do with that property. Now, could the individual get burned? Yeah, if you're a charlatan, real estate somebody, and you subject to this, and you deeded it all through there, and yes, you can do this through closing. I've done this several times. And you could just sell it to somebody else and walk away, and that loan's still in place, and that can burn that lady. Does everybody feel me? So, be cautious in this product. Now, this is illegal in Texas.
Yep.
Okay? And at one time, this was rampant, about 7-8 years ago, because, when the thing when the bottom dropped out, and everybody was upside down, there was a bunch of charlatans coming in. Let me take over your payment. They would take it over. Then they would turn around and sell it to terms of somebody else. It's called a sandwich. They would take that money and they would leave town. And then it would just be a disaster.
Wow.
And then it became a massive problem in Texas because Texas is bad in general.
So they would make more money.
This is bad.
Would they'd make more
Texas
money?
toast is bad.
They sell it for more money than what they paid for it, basically, right?
Well, they just basically sold. They sold a piece of paper. They sold a piece of paper to somebody, and they just disappeared. And that poor lady or gal or couple, whoever is stuck with this non-paying loan.
How would you find a subject to?
How do I find them? You just offer them when you're buying the property. I mean, I had a subject to the other day. I would have sold to somebody for $500, but it was too skinny. These are you really need to have equity in them.
And you're basically getting them for the loan percentage. So, right? So
it's a $100,000 house and they have a $90,000 loan on it, but that loan, they're very attractive because the $90,000 is free money. You acquired a $90,000 asset for nothing. I've given people $1,000 to move out. I've helped them move out, and they've moved out of state, and I'm still making their payment today on the property. But they had a Fannie Mac loan on it that's at 3% interest rate, and it's a $115,000 house, and their payment's only $700 a month.
And you can't go get that.
They couldn't sell the property, right? And I acquired another asset for minimal cost, but those continue to come back and bite me sometime. Well, how? Well, it's a $115,000 house, and I owe it $98 on it. Okay, everything's going great, but I miscalculated the rent, so their mortgage payment's $800 a month. That area in Bethany is a very interesting area in Bethany, and $1,100, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, no brainer, right? Put it up for 11, don't get it for 11. 1 month clicks by. Second month clicks by. Okay, now how much do I have in it now? Well, I gave the people, I was too nice, I gave the people $1,000 to move out, and I paid for their 1 month, so I got $2,000 in it just to say hi. Then I close it, so I got $4 in it just to close it, and then I got 2 months, I got $6. How much do I have in it now? $98,000 asset with $6,000 is what? $104. How much is it worth? Yeah, guess what happened the next month? Rented it out, but I dropped the price down to $1,000. Sewer line, bang bang. Sewer line. So now I'm like savvy investor. Savvy investor. But I'll slap you if you told me about this deal. I would not let you buy it. And here I am choking out on it. I'm like, all right, I'm calling all my homies. What do I do with this? Looks like you got a long play. Very, very long play. So now my mind's like trying to calculate $200 a month. Forever. Okay, man, I gotta get out of here. Now, there was another problem over there. I'm like, man, thank goodness I could write this off on more taxes. But I was like, so I'm already trying to sell this property. As soon as these beautiful folks that live in there keep staying there as long as you like, as soon as they move out, I'm gonna sell this, and I'm gonna call the people before I know them because I'm always in a relationship with them because I also have full disclosure. I am taking this over. I'm paying your payment. And they ask me this question: what if you don't pay it? Well, this is what happens. I give them full disclosure. I'm taking this back. If I screw up, okay.
What happens if you don't make the payment?
Yeah.
Then it goes back on them. It goes back. Can go into foreclosure, and it would ruin their credit.
And what is the bank's role in this? What
No role. F them.
They quiet as long as you pay them.
The bank doesn't even know about it then?
They could accelerate it.
There's a clause. Good job. Brian?
That's
They
one
could,
of the
What's your
reasons
name?
for the
They could call
trust
it,
is the high
Yeah,
dealership.
Yeah. Acceleration.
Do want to sell close. I'm actually in a lawsuit on this right now. We can talk about this right now because I'm gangster on somebody right now on this on 700,000. Yeah, I acquired $700,000 of properties by subject to. I acquired 7 houses in Edmond, $100,000 house. It's a long story. It's in the podcast. You can listen to it. But that actually, they tried to accelerate the clause, and we at it. It's fun. This is gonna be a good one. They lowered it up, so did we, because we haven't missed any payment. B2R Finance.
Who's that?
Yeah, that's exactly who you don't want to know. They're a predatory lender. Well, we're not talking about predatory lenders, are we? I mean, see, we're catching too many rabbits, man. 15 minutes. Okay. But it's interesting. That's a subject too. That person could get burnt. Now, I knew the person that I bought those from was a real estate investor that went under because their property manager was stealing money from them. Hurt this chick really bad. She's calling me, crying. She's like, "Hey, I'm going bankrupt. Girl, I can help you." And that's where that all. And then for a whole year, I've been paying the payments on lockdown, no problems. Spent about $15,000 rehabbing them, $20,000, getting them all up to snuff through the proceeds, and then this lending company is trying to take them from me. Oh, okay.
What's their angle?
Accelerated clause.
Yep. You want to
But the filing documents are very fascinating. Ooh, when my attorney called me and said, default, I was like, yo, I didn't default nothing. But that's called a default when you don't honor the. Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be a good battle. It's going to be interesting.
Stay tuned to the podcast.
Stay
Is there
tuned.
a lot of equity in them? I mean, why would they want them?
Yeah, I acquired the loan for $500,000 to $700,000. Now they're worth I got about $450 in them. Was what I owe on them, and this is I can't wait to just expose all this stuff. It's going to be on. It's going to go all the way to the top because it's just predatorial to people. This poor gal refinanced, and the fees I cannot wait to release all these documents one day, because the fees that they're charging to not reinstate, or just because we did not honor the it was like $70,000 to get released.
Wow.
I mean, it's like what's that called? Prepaid penalty clause was epic in there. It was amazing. It was so gangster. Like, you can't even breathe for 2 years.
Is that why you're not just refinancing it? Why
Yeah,
you're
we
fighting
couldn't.
it?
We tried to refinance it because it's a $700,000 properties. We owe $445, somewhere around there. And when I acquired them, there were $500 for something. You see, but that's why the girl had to call bankruptcy. She could not because I was buying them from her. I was buying all of them, and I bought like 4 or 5 off of her for what's the rate you should be buying houses at? 60%. So I was buying them at 60, 70, and then even to get to that, she refinanced them at 70. So this is probably what Alan had a problem with. So they refinanced at 70. There was no room, so that you could take it to a regular bank at 80, maybe, but that's why she could not. The penalties were so steep and so like just daily confusion. She couldn't get them out. She was at the mercy of this bank, and I said, okay, hey, let's just try a subject to. Little did I know they're going to come gangster, full on 10 attorneys trying to take them from us, like straight gangster. It's amazing. They could do a movie on it because like they just drove up here. Started like looking at the house, like that was their goal. Like they were malice. Like they genuinely refinanced this gal this money in anticipation that she can't refinance them, and the penalties were so steep, and then she didn't think of the variable of property management, which everyone in this building probably does not. Variable is a property management variable, and the property manager stole from these people and put her down, right? So she was not. I mean, and they were cash flowing, but they weren't. So it's just a sad deal. Of course, I take it on like a dummy, and we're going good, get it all. I mean, we double checked all the T's. I mean, we did it by the book to make sure that this is ironclad. Like, and they called back their attorney. I can't believe you got this to close. Because you can't. But anyway.
Wouldn't it be easier just to sell the properties and...
They won't release. I mean, yeah, the fees are too high.
The prepayment penalty.
To sell them, pay. Oh, you still have to pay the fees.
The penalty.
The penalty, the prepaid penalty. And it was like a 5-year prepaid penalty.
Oh, got it.
So if I was you guys, yeah, or 3 years. So it's dumb. All right. So creative. Where's a way you can get money creatively? 1, owner finance. 2, partner with somebody else. 3, where else? Subject to. 4, what's another way? Creatively, how you can get money?
Credit card.
Credit card. You could do a master lease. That's another way. IRA money.
You can deal directly with the owner if they have equity in it.
Yep.
Make a deal.
Okay. We talked about equity acquisitions. We talked about that. You got to have a plan for your money. All right. Any other questions? Refi. When should you refi?
When you can. When it will be cheaper.
As soon as possible. It depends on what your goal is. Okay. Again, we talked about the $100,000 example. If I got a $100,000 debt-free house, it feels good. My name's Dave Ramsey. But then over here, you're paying tax on it.
Right.
Okay? So you got to have a mix of this. And another thing that you need to think about when you're doing with money, so like some banks are 3-year lock, 5-year lock. You might want to stagger those so you know when they don't all hit at one time. So if you're going to refinance stuff or you're using this one bank, you may want to just have maybe 10 of them on a 5-year and then 5 of them on a 3-year, and you got to manage this process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Any questions on that? PFS, what's that mean?
Personal financial statement.
You need to know that. Personal financial statement. If you don't have that, you got to have one. Play the cash flow game. You should buy that. It's $70. Everyone should buy this game because I've been playing it like almost every day. Called Cash Flow for Kids. It's bomb. It's incredible. It's $69 on Amazon. Buy it. Cash Flow for Kids. It's the new one, and the new cash flow game's good. I'm telling you, you
have the digital.
No, this you can get. No, this is the kids version, but it's amazing that you have to think about when you get a card that comes up and it says if you buy this asset, it gives you this much money.
Right.
So, but of course I play the game enough. I know what to do now. But in the beginning, it says you pay $2,000 and get $100 a month cash flow. Okay, that makes sense. But then the next card that rolls up, it says pay $900 and get $200 a month cash flow. Okay? So I should do a whole podcast on this because this is what I found through playing this game a lot. And I was like, this is very powerful. And I was like, you have to, I don't know, I'm making this up, but you got to be strategic in when and how when you're using money. Because if I'm trying to get out of the rat race, I'm trying to buy as many assets as I can. But if I spend all my money, and I put my hand on my wife, I was like, don't buy that one. Because she was just getting all juicy. I was like, look, if we buy that one, you're going to miss an opportunity later. Okay? It's called opportunity cost. And that's what you have to think about money. Okay? And so when you're borrowing money or you're paying off a house, and I'm not saying that you should not be debt-free. I have some houses that are debt-free. But the point is, it's an opportunity cost. If you're not using the equity in the property, you may not be able to buy another property because you can't get it out of the equity. Okay, so you should always be thinking all the time. I'm talking about weekly, monthly. What's my houses? What's my equity? How much equity can I get out? Can I get them out? The timing, the market. And then when I do have this cash, and you should pull this equity out and sit on it, well, I have the opportunity to buy another asset with that money. Okay? Or five, or whatever. Okay? Is that all clear? Did I mess that up at all? Okay. So your personal financial statement, you got to have that. Now taxes. Oh man. I don't know what I wrote that down. I don't know why I put that on there. But all right, let's go. You ready?
Want to keep more of your money and pay less to the government. That's why you.
Well, yeah, ultimately. Yeah, I mean.
So you need tax planning. Don't wing it.
Yeah, I mean, go back if and I'm not at this level, but the people that I try to talk to or hang out always want to be. You always want to be around someone smarter than you. Okay, the people that I try to hang out with, they're like slapping me around with this IRA stuff. You know, I'm like, you know, every time I talk to them, I'm like, you know, I don't got time for the IRA deal. You know, I'm trying to buy houses over here. But I mean, there is a big tax savings and what's that health savings plan? How you say it? HSA. So I used to just ignore that stuff. Oh, that doesn't affect me.
Right.
You know, I don't have. Who could put $2,000 on an HSA plan? You know, right. That's $2,000 I can put down on a crib, right? But there, you know, but that's a different total game. And you know, as you grow and you get bigger, taxes is a big deal. 1031, and you know, if you plan properly, you try to pay as less taxes as possible. Okay, and so that's just probably why I threw that down there. But you know, I'm really, you know, that's kind of the main reason why I'm bringing the Bob Dressman guy in. I mean, this guy is like the godfather of IRAs, and he's not even a guru guy. He's just an authentic, genuine guy that just has done it. He's just a mathematical guy. And it's just interesting. And when I called him, he's like, you can inherit an IRA. I'm like, wow, is that even possible? Can I set that up for my children? Because when I talk to these guys, they're setting up self-directed IRA for all their children, and they're paying their kids specific amounts of money. I mean, you go follow this guy. He's a really good friend of mine. It's IRAlawyer.com. Now, if you're all in political stuff, he probably will offend you, so be ready. Him and my other homie, William Barnachek. Okay, because I saw their posts about Donald Trump the other day.
What was it again?
IRAlawyer.com.
William Bonachek?
William Barnachek. He is out of Denver. That guy is awesome too. Barnachek. You guys know him, right? He's been here before, Oklahoma City. Okay, John Heyer he's Ohio. He's the guy's ingenious. Like, he's actually won tons of cases in the IRS over tax law. He was a big tax law. He's a big IRA law guy. This guy goes down to lobbies and stuff. He's a real estate investor himself. He has a bunch of mobile homes. He's a really good guy. A lot of my friends hire him to do some estate stuff. But get on his Facebook and just read what he's talking about and what's going on with IRAs and
what's his name?
John Heyer, Hyre. He's legit. And he you know, I don't think he really sells stuff. He does speak sometimes. He does sell some stuff, but he's not like that. All right. Here's the thing. All this means nothing if you don't have a goal. A plan. What are you trying to do? You have to be strategic. When you're talking to a good banker, the number one question he's going to ask you. This is I've tested this. I've had a lot of meetings with bankers in my little short time here. What's the number one question that they ask me? Does anybody see if they can ask anybody?
What's your plan?
Okay. I just said that. Well, basically, yeah, it's true. He's like, "What's your goals? What are you trying to do?" Can you answer that question? If I ask you that, Jay, what's your goals here? Like, you know, you're trying to borrow money from him. What would you say to a banker? Well, how many houses do you want to buy?
This year, 8.
See right there. Okay, is that a good answer?
Probably not to a banker.
Not to a banker. It's not a good answer. What's a good answer? 20, 50? Those are all horrible answers.
I don't tell them anything.
Exactly. You don't tell them anything. You know, I'm thinking about putting on maybe one more, maybe two more to add to my portfolio.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm real slow and steady.
Yeah.
But in the back room, man, I got spreadsheets and gangster stickers everywhere. I want 500 of these mother effers. You can't get me enough. I gotta go to my office right now. There's like little houses everywhere. I'm crossing them off. I got 20 going down this year. Let's do this. I just see what you guys offer. You know, I work, you know, I've only been a real estate investor for 15 years. I just have a few units and I want to grow my portfolio. I was just wondering if we could do this together, right? Where you're going to fail as a real estate investor, you walk into a bank, hey, so what's your goals? Yeah, they're just going to shut it down because you're too wild. The problem is you're sitting across someone that thinks about real estate but has no idea about real estate. Not to be just disrespectful, but they have never been in front of a tenant that's screaming at you and they're pregnant and they're going to kill you because you got to evict them. Right? And why do you have to evict them? Does the bank... Well, I don't want to get into that. Okay. Does that make sense? And so they don't understand what it takes to be a real estate investor. They don't understand the sacrifices that we've made. They've made great sacrifices, and we're not comparing apples to apples, right? They have a job to do to loan me money, and I have a job to do is to pay back that loan. That's it. Anything outside of that should be to interpretation. How I run my money is different than how they run their money. I got slapped by a bank one time. Man, I'm telling you, I'll never forget this day. They got all juicy on me because I was taking losses. And they didn't like that. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't like that. Well, when you have a $50,000 tax bill, I think it's, a friend of mine just drove on December 31st to go buy a new vehicle. Just for a tax thing, right? That doesn't make sense to some people. Wow, you bought an X amount of truck for what reason? It has to weigh how much? Does anybody know the code?
6,000.
Right. 6,000 pounds. And what happens when it weighs 6,000 pounds? Depreciation. Who said it? Who said that? There you go. You're smart. See, get with that gal. What up?
What exactly can you write off of the vehicle?
What's exactly can you write off on the vehicle? 100% depreciation forward, right?
Yeah,
100% forward.
Business vehicle.
Now, you have to ask yourself, I'm not an accountant, CPA, I don't know anybody, but I'm just saying.
6,000 pounds.
Yeah, which some of the big SUVs even qualify.
Escalade. I'm just saying, I would never drive one. But now, you got to weigh out the pros and cons as a real estate investor. How much driving do you do as a real estate investor? A lot.
100%.
98. You can't say 100. You can get in trouble. But how many? You're right. And how much? What's the mile rate?
54.5.
Oh, you way off. It's like 56, 59. Every year that goes up. You got the wrong CPA. You got the wrong CPA. 54. You lose it like 5 cents per mile. And how many miles do you drive, Crystal?
About 30,000 a year.
Times. Come on, get your calculator out, man. It's like $8,000, right?
No, it's more than that.
15. Yeah, see, that's why I'm not an accountant.
Yeah.
15. So you have to ask yourself, is it better to buy a new asset? Now, in this investor's position, he got a lot of cash in that he didn't hedge for, and it was a smart move for him to do that. And people like me that continue to take losses, it's better for me to get 59 cents a mile. Depends on what you're trying to do.
Anybody ever heard of Base 105? You write up all of your personal medical expenses through your business. Anybody heard of it?
No.
Base 105.
Base 105.
Google it up.
Base 105. So I can give you a recommendation. I think they give me $50 if I refer somebody. So if your spouse, if you have a spouse that works for you, instead of paying her a wage, you pay her a very small wage. It could be your son, or it could be you. If you're the full-time worker and your wife's running the business, you can be the employee. So then the employee, in lieu of wages, gets all their personal medical expenses paid for up to a certain limit. Mine's like $18,000.
Okay, cool. Put your hands together for my friend.
It lowers your self-employment tax.
Yeah, there's all kinds of creative things that we don't have time to figure it out. So that's just why we're here. If there's something that you've learned, share it with somebody else. Okay, our final answer is, Matt Vile, depreciation. Why is it so amazing?
It's imaginary loss.
It's free money.
Free money.
Nobody writes a check to Mr. Depreciation.
Till you sell.
Well, yeah.
Don't sell.
Don't sell.
You gotta pay it back.
Or on paper. Okay. So it's free money. A lot of people don't like this. For an average, let's just say you have a bunch of ghetto cribs, $30,000. Average depreciation on a $30,000 house is what? $1,500 a year?
It's over 27 and a half years.
So you're basically getting paid an extra $150, $200 a month in depreciation that go against your W-2, that can go against your house income. Okay, a lot of people don't factor that in. Now, to me, that money's gravy, right? But a lot of banks, when they're looking at your portfolio, they factor that in there, your depreciation rate.
And they take it out to look at your numbers.
Yeah, to look at your DDD ratio. You can ask Mr. Day back there. There's John Day's son, his CPA firm. He would know those numbers. schedule, depreciation schedule. Whoopie-do. Who gives a rip? I want to make cash flow. That's what I want to do. Cash flow. All right. Any other questions? What's next month?
Facebook.
And then the month after that, we're going to do IRA. Peace out. See ya. Put your hands together.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.